There is a lot to talk about this week. Where in the world do we start? Where are we going to start? We're going to talk about Don Staley and Geno Smith shaking hands after the game. Michigan winning their second national championship, first for the Big Ten since 2000. Tom Izzo, Michigan State. What else we got? Carolina has a new head coach, Mike Malone. Interesting. The Charlotte Hornets are in 8th place, and they're right there at 7th. Ooh, we got some stuff. The Big Ten. Is the Big Ten now the best conference in college athletics? We got a lot to talk about today. All that and more on this episode of the Coach Cherry Show.
When you want it and gotta have it, it's light work. Watch me do what I do. It's really light work.
This is a power-packed episode. Do y'all realize how much has been going on in sports? Okay, let me do this. Let me do this. Where do we start? Michigan just won the national championship. They beat UConn. Dan Hurley, nothing to be ashamed about. This is Dan's third national championship appearance in 4 years. That has been, I don't think that's been done since the late, great John Wooden. You got to go back to the 60s and 70s. And he won 2 of them. But Michigan, national champs. Interesting. Dusty May, we got some stuff to talk about today. Going into this game, I felt like Michigan was just too big. I felt like Michigan's front line was going to be too much for UConn. Now, when I look at UConn, Dan Hurley may be the best coach in the business. And I love what they run offensively. UConn, it's reverse from what you usually see. Usually teams try to wear you down with their defense. They'll pressure the ball. They'll show you different looks. They may spring some traps. They may apply some full court pressure. They try to wear you down defensively. Or teams may try to wear you down in transition. When they get possession, they're constantly pushing tempo. Go. And they try to wear you down that way. Well, UConn is different. They wear you down with their half-court sets. There's so much movement and action in their half-court sets. Pin downs and flare screens and re-screening ball screen action. It's a lot going on. Basket cuts. That it can wear a team down defensively. But I felt like what was big for Michigan is Michigan had the size to pack the paint. See, Taurus Reed for UConn has been a force in the tournament. But he's really their only interior scorer. And I felt like Michigan has the size to neutralize him and just contain him. You're not going to shut him down. I think he finished with 11 or 12 points, 14 rebounds. Still a good game, but he's not going to go for 20. Or 25, he's not going to hurt you. And so it would come down to UConn. You're going to have to make shots from the outside consistently. And I didn't think Alex Caravan can shoot it. Braylon Mullins can shoot it. They have some shooters, but from what I've seen in the tournament, they haven't made shots. Solo Ball can shoot it. They haven't made shots consistently. And I didn't think that would happen tonight. Not to the level where they would win the game. 69-63, low scoring game. But Elliot Cadeau, I am so happy for Elliot Cadeau. When Elliot Cadeau was at North Carolina, I kept telling people, this dude can hoop, man. Elliot Cadeau, you could see the ball handling skills, dribbling and passing. He was also a capable shooter. Now, at North Carolina, people kept saying he can't shoot. But when I went back and watched his high school footage, he's making shots. The basket is still 10 feet, right? Okay. So the basketball is the same size as it is in high school, right? Okay. Why can't he make shots now? He just needed to be in the right situation. I've been saying a lot of this stuff is situational. Not only did he go to Michigan, start at the point, lead them to a national championship. He got most outstanding player in the Final Four. Okay. I said he got most outstanding player. Ooh, this thing is situational. Now he looks like one of the best point guards in the country. Now he looks like one of the best point guards in the country. He is. IQ is he doesn't turn the ball over that much. So I'm happy for Elliot Cadeau. I find it funny. Anytime a team wins a national title, everybody wants to copy that coach. So what you'll see now is people will look up the offense that Michigan is running with Dusty May, and they'll try to pick and choose from the. It's other than Dan Hurley winning back to back. It's usually a different champion every year, but people will pick apart what Dusty May has done and say, I got to get what he's doing because they just won the national. It doesn't work like that, y'all. Now, pick apart. You got to assess your own team and find what's going to work for your team. Michigan is a big team. If you don't have that kind of size and talent, they're not just big, they're big and talented. If you don't have that, you can't run what they're running. I just told you about Elliot Cadeau. They have an excellent point guard to go with that size. You don't have that, or you can't run what they're running in. Can I also say this about Michigan? They got 3 guys projected to go in the first round. Do you have that? Well, you may not be able to run what they're running in. Look at the mock drafts. Look at the mock drafts. When we talk about the first round picks in the mock draft, this is just one mock draft that I pulled up. You can go look at some others. But right outside the lottery, you see Yaxel Lindeborg, who was a little banged up tonight. He wasn't himself. He wasn't 100%. But 6'9", do-it-all forward. When Cadeau went out with a couple of fouls, Lindeborg was playing like the point forward position. No, he didn't have a crazy stat line, but just being a reliable ball handler helped him. So they had a front line of Yaxel Lindeborg, 6'9", who's projected to go in the first round. Then you got Morez Johnson Jr., another 6'9" big who's projected to go in the first round. Then you got the 7-footer, Ade Mara, 7'2", projected to go in the first round. So you look at a Michigan team where their entire front line, Ade Mara at the 5, Morez Johnson Jr. at the 4, and Yaxel Lindeborg at the 3, all are projected first round picks. Your whole front line, you may not be able to run what they're running. Don't even try it. Watch this. 3 first round picks on the front line. An excellent point guard in Elliot Cadeau. And guess what, y'all? Dusty May can coach. You're looking at Dusty May and saying, wow, national title for Michigan. Man, that's outstanding. But you're forgetting just a few years ago in 2023, he took Florida Atlantic to the Final Four. Coach Cherry, I forgot Florida Atlantic went to the Final Four that year in 2023. Yeah, Dusty May was the head coach. So not only are you looking at a team with talent, you're looking at somebody who has a heck of a coach on that sideline. So you may not be able to mimic what they're doing in Michigan. Just get your own thing. Coaches. Don't try to copy another coach. Do you. Because look at his formula too now. This is the first time that a team has won a national championship with all transfers. His whole starting 5 was transfers to Michigan. None of those guys were at Michigan last year. So he hadn't had any time with his group. It's not like this is a group that, they've been together 2 or 3 years. No, it's their first time playing together. And he cut down the nets. Don't try to mimic that. Don't do that. This is showing dominance with the Big Ten, y'all. I talked about this a few weeks ago. Is the Big Ten the best conference in college athletics? Keep in mind, when we talk about college football, The last three national champions, Indiana, Ohio State, Michigan. So we know in college football, the Big Ten is running things. They're running college football. Kurt Signetti in Indiana may go back and do it again next year. Ryan Day in Ohio State, they're always in the mix. Always in the mix. Indiana, Ohio State, Michigan, last three national champs. Check mark by college football. College basketball now. Two of the teams in the Final Four this year were from the Big Ten, Illinois and obviously Michigan. Michigan wins the national championship. Hold on. Women's basketball. You're forgetting something. What am I forgetting, Coach Sherry? Who won the women? We're going to talk about this in a second. Who won the women's championship? UCLA, Big Ten. This is UCLA's first national championship ever in women's basketball. You know what? Listen to me. So UCLA has had that women's program all these years, and they did not win a title until they entered the Big Ten, until they joined the Big Ten. Now, I've heard that there's a lot of money in the Big Ten when it comes to alumni and boosters and donors. Y'all, if you don't want to contribute to the NIL, I don't know how well your team is going to do. I'm just being, we're in a day and age now where if you don't want to open your wallet, you don't want to open your checkbook, you don't want to open your purse, your teams may struggle. Unless you run across a couple of diamonds in the rough. Other than that, your teams may struggle. How the Big Ten? See, here's what happened. I'm going to tell you what happened. The SEC used to dominate college football. We all know the Floridas and the Georgias and SEC, Tennessee, LSU, Alabama. SEC used to dominate college football. When the ACC used to dominate college basketball. Carolina and Duke. Then you throw a Kentucky in there, you throw a Kansas in there. Dominate college basketball. This transfer portal, and I think even more so than, the transfer portal helped, but I think more so than the transfer portal, the NIL. Why do you say the NIL, Coach Cherry? The NIL has leveled the playing field when it comes to recruiting. And listen to me closely. Nobody cares about the name on your jersey anymore. They don't care nothing about that. How much are you paying me? I have talked to college coaches, and they have told me on the recruiting visits, some of the players, some of the recruits' first question is not, how much do you see me playing? Where do I fit in your system? The first question, when they sit that recruit down in the office, college coaches have told me the first question is, how much can you pay me? Y'all didn't hear what I just said. How much can you? I don't care about no office that you running. I don't care nothing about I get to meet James Worthy. I don't care nothing about that. How much are you paying me? That's what they want to know. And so with this NIL, now look at Kurt Signetti at Indiana. Indiana had the worst record in college. They were the most losing team in college football, and they go from that, and in 2 years they cut down the nets. They win a national title. If you go to Indiana back in the day with no NIL, you're probably done. Because how else would you attract or recruit to Indiana if there's no money to give them? Now, in college athletics, I think it's almost safe to assume there's money that was being handed out anyway. But only certain schools could do it, and they were getting the best recruits. But once you opened up that NIL, oh my goodness. Now boosters and alumni woke up and said, how much does that kid want? He won't go to Carolina no more. Nah, he won't go to Kansas no more. No, he won't. Come on over to Michigan. Come on to UConn. Come to BYU. Anybody. In football, come on to Indiana. Indiana, why in the world would I go to Indiana? Has absolutely zero traditional history. Why in the world? Because we're going to pay you. Now that the playing field is level, this thing becomes you got to coach now, y'all. You got to coach. Because any school can get a recruit now. So the front of your jersey, which used to do the recruiting, that doesn't do it anymore. How much are you paying me? And as of right now, in this new NIL era, the Big Ten is dominating. We'll see how long it lasts and if other teams adjust. But Michigan is your national champ in men's basketball. UCLA is your national champ in women's basketball. UCLA beat South Carolina. You know, Coach Corey Close. That's it. When you bring the first championship to a school, that's special. Winning a championship is tough enough already anyway. But you bring it, the first one, the school has never seen one before, and you're the first. That's extremely special. Lauren Betts, we talked about the size of Michigan bothering UConn. Well, Lauren Betts, 14-11 against, I watched that South Carolina. I watched the game, the UCLA South Carolina game, and I think Dawn Staley needs some more playmakers. Her team seemed to be athletic and defensive minded. Nothing wrong with that. But where's your bucket getter? Now, here I am, Dawn Staley sitting there with 3 national titles. She was in the championship game the last 2 seasons. And here I am questioning the roster makeup. She may look at me and say, Coach Chair, I got 3 titles. I've played for it. I've gone to the national championship game 3 years in a row. What are you talking about? But I think if she had 1 or 2 girls that could get a bucket, 1 or 2 that could just shot clock, ISO, shot clock running down, I don't see any bucket getters. Tough girls, play hard, athletic young ladies. Who's your bucket getter, though? I don't see it. And so you're working very hard for a shot, unless like a Tessa Johnson gets hot or somebody like. But other than that, I don't see anybody that can get a bucket like that. So I think that would open things up for them if they had a bucket getter. Now, we talk about South Carolina. UCLA won the national championship, and I can't forget Gabriela Jaquez. We know her brother's in the NBA with the Miami Heat. She had an outstanding game, 21 points, 10 rebounds. When you look at UCLA's roster, I talked about Michigan's. UCLA has about 3 young ladies that are projected to be in the WNBA draft. So this is a talented UCLA. I think that South Carolina looks like the more aggressive team. They look a little tougher. They play a little rougher, a little more physical. They were physical against UConn, scrappier. I just think UCLA was just more talented. I do. I think UCLA beat them because we just have better basketball players. I didn't say better athletes. I said better basketball players. So I think Don may have to adjust just slightly, Don, just slightly. All the attention went to the Final Four game. South Carolina and UConn, which South Carolina won. They upset UConn. And UConn was unbeaten coming into that game. So yes, that was an upset. And they beat UConn pretty convincingly. They beat them by 14, 62-48. The game is what it is. That wasn't really the highlight. Great defensive effort by South Carolina. They held, like I said, they held UConn to 48. After the game, the post-game handshake between Geno Auriemma and Dawn Staley.
The officials will hold the players now. Dawn and Geno getting into it a little bit on the sideline as Geno has to be held back. And Dawn and Geno, that's part of what makes this rivalry.
Got a little heated. They shook hands. Now, Geno is 72 years old. Geno, some may consider the GOAT. I consider the late, great Pat Summitt the GOAT. Some people may have Geno. 12 national titles. He just won last year. As a matter of fact, they just beat South Carolina last year in the national championship. So this was a little payback for South Carolina. They beat him in the Final Four this year. Dawn Staley obviously hasn't been coaching nearly as long as Geno. She does have 3 national titles. So she's a legend. She's making her mark in history, and she's going down as one of the best to ever do it. Like I said, she's been in the championship game the last 3 years. Look at this now. Look at this. She won in 2017. She won in 2022. She won in 2024. And then she lost last year and this year. So right here, she's kind of having a dominant run right here. But Geno said something to Dawn. And in the post-game presser, Geno was talking about coaches usually meet at half court before the game and shake hands. And he waited there for 3 minutes and Dawn Staley didn't show up. Now, they did shake hands before the game. It was on the sideline, though. I don't know if that's required of coaches, that you have to meet at half court and shake hands. I don't know how that works before the game. But they did shake hands before the game. It just wasn't at half court. It was on the sideline, similar to how you do at the end of the game. You kind of walk over, y'all kind of meet each other halfway right in front of the scorer's table and shake hands. Well, Geno evidently had an issue because he talked about it in the post-game presser. I guess that's what he said to Dawn after the game, and Dawn got upset about that thing. I don't think that was the time to bring that up. I don't think if Geno was frustrated about not meeting at half court, then say that when you shake hands at the beginning of the game. Hey, Dawn, I know coaches, it's tradition kind of that we meet pregame at half court and shake hands. And I was out there waiting for a few minutes. I don't even know why that's a big deal, to be honest with you. It sounds silly when you say it. I'm not even sure why that's a big deal. Now, if it's something that coaches always do, okay, I guess I kind of get it. But if that's just your thing, what are we talking about? What's the big deal? If it's not required, then what is the big deal? She still shook your hand. The whole staff shook hands. And Geno made this into a big... And what I didn't like was it became about that moment. If I could talk to Dawn Staley, I would say, don't let him get you upset like that. Don't let anything get you upset like that. But because now it's almost like Geno got the reaction out of Dawn that he wanted. He took the attention off the win, and all the attention went to the post-game handshake. Now, I know Geno was wrong. He shouldn't have. Again, like I said, I don't think he should have addressed it in that moment. I don't. I think Geno was wrong for bringing it up at that moment. If Geno was frustrated about a pregame handshake, then when you meet Dawn Staley before the game, right here on the sideline, address it then. Don't wait till you get beat and then bring it up. And anytime after a game, emotions are kind of high with coaches and players. That's just not the time for that. But I wish Dawn just would have brushed it off because all the attention went to her. She didn't do anything wrong. She did nothing wrong. But it's almost like Geno kind of got what he wanted in that moment. Yes, the attention is off the win. It's all about this interaction right here. And I didn't like to see that. Didn't like to see that. Now, Geno did issue an apology, and I thought the apology lacked one thing. What did it lack, Coach Cherry? He never mentioned Dawn Staley's name. He said he was apologizing to the staff and the team at South Carolina. He never mentioned Dawn Staley's name. Dawn Staley is the one that he confronted. You gotta say her name. You gotta apologize. You didn't confront anyone on the staff. Why are you apologizing to them? You didn't confront anyone on that staff. So why are you apologizing to them? You need to apologize to Dawn. Now, if you want to include the staff and the team for making an incident out of it, that's fine. But the person that you confronted was Dawn Staley. That's the person you should apologize to first. Then you can include the staff and the team. And the UConn administration could have said that. They could have said, no, coach, you need to address Dawn Staley. You got to address Coach Staley specifically, individually, and then apologize to the rest of the group. So I thought the apology, I didn't think it was appropriate. I didn't think it was appropriate. Uh, but I think overall Geno was frustrated because they got beat. South Carolina was more physical. I think he was complaining about fouls and Sarah Strong or AZ Foot. Somebody got their jersey ripped or something. And hey, see, look how physical they're playing. No, you lost. It's okay. You got 12 national titles. You just won one last year. It's no big deal. It's okay. But I thought Geno did not handle that situation the right way. And Dawn was a class act. Even after she lost to UCLA in the championship game, Dawn Staley was a class act, even in her loss. North Carolina has a new head coach, y'all. The search is over. The University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, one of the blue bloods that let go of Hubert Davis, which I don't agree with, they now have their new coach, Mike Malone. You know Mike Malone coached the Denver Nuggets to the NBA championship just a few years ago with Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray and Aaron Gordon and those guys in 2023. Yes, that Mike Malone is the new head coach at Carolina. His daughter plays volleyball there, so he already has some. It's not necessarily a hire within the Carolina family, but he does have some connection to Carolina. So I think there's going to be some investment because his daughter is there. So he already feels, I believe, a tie to the university. Dusty May said no. He just won a national title. Tommy Lloyd from Arizona said no. Just went to the Final Four. Ben McCollum at Iowa had a, I think, Elite Eight run this year. He said no to an interview. Billy Donovan, head coach of the Chicago Bulls, from what I read, wanted to wait until the NBA season was over and then talk about it. I guess Carolina didn't want to wait for that. No one was beating down the door to get this Carolina job. Mark Byington at Vanderbilt. I don't know if they reached out to him or not. But you're talking about a high pressure job. Now, Mike Malone, I think, is hungry to get back into coaching. And I don't know if any NBA teams have reached out to him or if this is the first time a school or a program, an organization has reached out to him. But he wants to get back into coaching. He said that, I think it was on Inside the NBA. He was talking to Kenny Smith, had his Tar Heels hoodie on because, like I said, his daughter plays volleyball there. And he told Kenny Smith he wants to get back into coaching. Is this a good hire for North Carolina? Those other coaches said no. You know why they said no? Because they're already in good situations. And they didn't feel like going to North Carolina would be an upgrade. This ain't what it used to be now. This ain't Michael Jordan and James Worthy. This ain't Anton Jameson and Jerry Stackhouse and Vince Carter. That's not what this is. This ain't Raymond Felton and Sean May. That's not what this is. This ain't Tyler Hansbrough and Roy Williams. No, that's not what it is. The late, great Dean Smith and Roy Williams and Frank McGuire. No, that's not what this is. And I thought Hubert was doing a solid job. I think Carolina fans are so hyped about this hire of Mike Malone. How quickly does he have to win? So let me ask this question. Mike Malone has to do, for Carolina fans to be satisfied next year, Mike Malone needs to do what? That's my question. What would be a good season for North Carolina next year? They got to make the tournament. Do they have to win the ACC? Let's go ahead and get it out here now. What does he have to do next year? And do they have to go to the Elite Eight or the Final Four? Talk to me. What does Carolina have to do next year for that to be that was a successful season? Because Hubert Davis was already winning 20 plus games and going to the tournament. So what's the expectation for next year? Talk. See, my thing is that's why I think those other coaches said no. It's not that they're not competitive and they don't want to win. They're not up for the challenge. No, they are. That's silly. They wouldn't be coaching at that high level if they went up for a challenge. No, they're up for the challenge. They don't want unrealistic pressure and expectations. That's what it is. And in this day and age with NIL and transfer portal, it's a whole different ballgame. This ain't 86 or 2005. That ain't what this is. So, what are the expectations for Mike Malone? And here's my question, Carolina fans. Are you sure Mike Malone is all in? Or is this a stepping stone to get back to the NBA? Which one is it? Is this a stepping stone to get back to the NBA? Because clearly he wants to coach again. Is Mike Malone saying, I'm all in, let's build this program back up to national prominence. I'm here for the long haul. Is that what he's saying? Or is it like, if I have one or two good seasons and an NBA team call, I'm out of here. And Carolina's back searching for another head coach. Is that what this is? I'm out of here. Interesting. So those are my only two questions. Can Mike Malone coach? Oh my gosh, yes. We know the man can coach. We know he can coach. Whether or not he can coach, that's not even a question. The only two questions I would have is he in it for the long haul? And what are the expectations next season? Only question I got. Other than that, I don't know if it's a good hire from the standpoint that you got a talented coach. What I don't know is this a long-term fix? Because if he's gone in 2 or 3 years and you're back in the same spot, I don't know how good that is. But we'll see, Carolina. We will see. The Charlotte Hornets are in 8th place. Now, I look at the Charlotte Hornets and they only have 3 games left. They got 3 games left, and they're three tough ones. They're at Boston, at home versus Detroit, and then at the New York Knickerbockers. Now, they're in 8th place. They're half a game. They are half a game out of 7th. What I'm hoping is that teams start resting players. I don't think the Knicks are going to do that because the Knicks only have a 1-game lead over Cleveland. Detroit, you can sit your starters. When y'all come to Charlotte to play the Hornets, you can sit you got first place locked up. Sit your starters. Detroit has a 3.5-game lead over Boston, and they only have 3 games left. Sit your starters. So that may help the Hornets if Detroit sits there. Now, I don't think Boston may not sit their starters against the Hornets. I think Boston starters may play one more game. One more game. But Charlotte is now tied. I take that back. They're tied for 7th. Charlotte's now tied for 7th with Philly. Very, very, very interesting. We'll see. We'll see. I think if they can get the 7-8 game, I don't like them playing Philly. I would not want them to play Philly. If they're going to play Philly, I want them to get to 7th and let that be a home game. Home game. We'll see. We'll see how Charlotte does. But both teams, Charlotte and Philly, only have 3 games left. We'll see how it goes. Thank you for tuning in for this episode of the Coach Cherry Show. Again, hit that like and subscribe button right there on YouTube to check in every day for shorts that are being posted. Shorts get posted every day about all types of sports. So tune in every day at Coach Cherry on YouTube for shorts that are being posted. Thank you for tuning in. Again, I'm your host, Coach Cherry, Jesus Christ follower, husband, father, former college athlete, former high school varsity basketball head coach, independent rap artist. Thank you again for tuning in. Until next time, signing off, Coach Cherry. God bless you.
But they don't want to tell you, I call it charades. Don't let the negatives persuade. Let it breathe. I played college ball, I was pretty good. In my neighborhood, they said we knew he would. That boy good.